Welcome back to My Mythical Meta, your gaming podcast that's actually your secret friendship podcast. My name is Travis, and I am joined by my brother Benjamin and my good friend Derek.
Still me.
Welcome back to another episode of Essential Concepts. Today's essential Magic the Gathering concept, the archetype we're going to look at today, is Group Hug.
Aw.
Derek, get in here, buddy.
Hey.
All of us.
Yeah,
Come on.
Group Hug. This is an awesome archetype where everyone gets to play their deck at its highest potential.
Yeah.
Listeners, make sure you comment with other Magic and EDH deck archetypes that you think belong in the series, and check out the playlist in the corner with our past episodes. We have done Voltron, Reanimator, and Spellslinger, and today is Group Hug.
Listener, please pick a good one. The last two have been ass. I'm so sick of it. I'm here against my will. I want to talk about a fun one next time.
First of all, I think our Spellslinger episode was excellent.
It's
Yeah,
really
it
good.
It was great for you guys.
We've gotten tons of compliments for our Spellslinger content. But
yeah, Derek just likes big creatures. He cannot lie.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
We
Don't have
have
dinosaurs,
gotten
don't
requests
include me.
already for Aristocrats,
Okay.
so I think that should come up soon. But I want to do Green Stompy.
There you
Yes,
go.
finally.
Like
An expert
let's do
subject
Green
matter.
Stompy or something, or maybe tokens. Maybe Token Swarm.
Okay.
Derek said, "No, I want Godzilla." We'll
can
see
do
what
that.
comes up, but listeners, you can help by commenting or sending in requests for the next archetype you want us to cover. We are continuing My Mythical Meta's Road to 1K sub-drive.
We're halfway there.
We
What?
are halfway there. Today, the day of our recording, June 3rd, we hit 500. I am so thankful to everyone who is out there sharing our content with their friends. So thankful to the converts who found us from Instagram and TikTok, finding us on YouTube. Thank you guys so much. And listeners, if you aren't subscribed, but if you like what we're doing, please hit subscribe and hit that bell icon. The YouTube analytics are telling me that 90% of our viewers are not subscribed. We've got returning viewers, y'all. People are coming back to the channel and watching our stuff. We have 3 different series that are in progress right now that we keep adding to. We've got our essential concepts that this episode is a part of. We have the Magic Players Try Worse Games series. Listeners, we know there's a cry for more, and we have one in the pipeline, but Randy just got a new house and has been unable to record for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But as soon as Randy is available to record again, we've done the gaming, we've done the play for the game Wonders of the First. And so that episode is in the pipeline and ready to go. And our third series is called News from the Warfront. We are getting comments and questions about ways to help people's gaming groups resolve conflict. And if you like those series, if you want to see what we cover next, click subscribe. It is your best way to stay in the know. Today's episode goes out to David. David, man, I know we say it every week or every other week. We are so glad that you have stuck with us for so long. We love sharing Magic content for you, and it's great to have you on the ride with us. Oh, I forgot that we had a new patron. Now, this new patron is a free patron, but I want to shout them out anyway.
I don't know who this is. Who is it?
We have a new patron, Orzhov Monarch.
Hey, welcome.
Hey,
like
yeah,
that name.
Orzhov Monarch, welcome. I chatted with Orzhov Monarch for a little while through Instagram, and we did a little kind of one-on-one deck tech for a black-white drain deck, black-white life drain.
Cool.
So, guys, this is the kind of stuff you can get that one-on-one attention by joining our Patreon, and we can do full episode deck doctors for you.
yeah, check out this deck doctor right here.
Check out this deck doctor from our number one patron, David, where we deck doctored his Miriam Sentinel Worm Dragons deck. So that is a service that we're happy to provide. Tons of fun to do. Just contact
Before
us.
they sign up, has David played with that deck and tried it? Do we know how it's done yet? Have
David,
we
get
gotten
in.
that feedback?
Cool.
Have we
David.
gotten the feedback?
David, tell us in the
uh,
comments
yeah.
For
how
God's
your
sakes,
deck has
please.
gone, or if you've had a chance to play.
We have a lot riding on this.
That's
David,
right.
I frequent Heroes Collectibles. I don't know if you're still in the area, but we can meet on a Friday and game it up. We'll see how your deck does. Okay, so don't forget, listeners, that you can contact us directly with questions about your deck, questions about the show, comments, and news from the Warfront ideas. If you've got something in your pod, rough waters that you need an outside perspective to help fix, you can email the show directly at mymythicalmeta@gmail.com. Today, we are looking at an archetype called Group Hug. I think for the first time, this archetype does not exist in normal 1v1 Magic.
No.
Right?
That's right. Yeah. There was one time in Modern, and I guess in original Kamigawa Standard, there was an
Really?
Ebony Owl Netsuni. Is that how you
Ebony
say
Owl
that?
Netsuke. Yeah.
Deck that you played the Font of Mythos and Kami of the Crescent Moon, and the whole idea was you're giving them a ton of cards with the thought of you're going to eventually burn them out with Ebony Owl Netsuke. But so I've seen it happen once or twice, but it's very rare because typically in a one-on-one competitive scene, giving your opponents cards, mana, creatures is just going to come back and hurt you.
It's a death sentence.
Yeah.
Why would you give your opponent in warfare any resources of any kind?
Right. And especially at parity.
Yeah. When the game is even, you do not want to give an inch. You don't want to give anything to your opponents. I think the only exception there is as a cost for some other effect.
Right. Swords to Plowshares. Okay, you give them life, but you got something much better, which is you got rid of a huge creature.
Yeah. It's not a strategy you would see in 1v1 play because the idea of giving your opponent resources is ludicrous. It goes against everything you've learned about card advantage or mana advantage. The way to win the game is to be ahead of those things. And so if you're giving those to your opponent, you're just giving your opponent extra materials to beat you with.
And I think Derek thinks it's dumb even in Commander.
I think so, yeah. We'll get to it, though.
So, Benjamin, tell us a little bit more. Define Group Hug for us. What do they seek to do in a Commander game?
Yeah, so in Commander, the idea of Group Hug is that you are trying to get the table's goodwill. They don't want to attack you. They don't want to blow up your stuff because you're providing everyone with resources, usually extra cards, extra mana, perhaps extra tokens. And then eventually a Group Hug deck is going to win by utilizing the immense resources that they prepared for in advance, knowing the deck they were building, to overpower the rest of the table. But early game, they're building up everyone's deck. They're playing cards that let everyone draw cards or let everyone play extra lands or provide tokens to the board. And by doing that, they really power up everyone's deck.
Yeah, I think this requires some political savvy. And our meta, the four of us, we really don't play a lot of Group Hug because we know each other too well almost.
Yeah.
Derek, talk about this. Why do you think so? First, why do you dislike Group Hug as an archetype? And second, why do you think it just doesn't work in our meta?
Okay, so for the reason why I don't like Group Hug is that I feel like it kind of adds a lot of variance to games.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly everyone's got, they're drawing they're going to have the 7 best cards in their deck at any given or in their hand at any given time.
Yeah.
And they've got all the removal, they've got all their threats, they've got all their land drops, all their ramp, they just get out ahead, and if for some reason you don't get it, that gap in between you two grows it grows a lot. If you start playing one thing, each player has 2 or 3 ways to remove it. It's hard to get anything to stick.
Yeah, I agree.
And conversely, everyone else has all their big threats, and you're one person trying to, play all your threats. You can't counter them all because they're coming up too fast. So I don't like it because it's just too much. I say that. Who doesn't love a good card draw? But I don't know. It just
he'll come around.
He'll come around.
I don't know. I just feel like a Group Hug player.
He just needs a hug.
A Group Hug player just doesn't really do anything except for making it more difficult to kill someone. Like if I'm let's say Travis is the Group Hug player. I'm fighting Benjamin and Travis together. to knock out Benjamin. If I want to attack Randy, I'm fighting Randy and Travis together. Yeah,
because you're
like
going against what I've given Randy to utilize.
Yeah, so it just
The
feels like
extra mana
so.
or the extra cards that Randy didn't build into his deck.
Yes, yeah, like it kind of closes the gap between the floor and the ceiling of deck building, I guess.
I agree.
Where, if someone's giving you cards or ramp or whatever, maybe it takes a good deck, it makes it better.
Yeah.
As if, now they're not limited by 100 cards, now it's 115 cards or something.
I see what Derek doesn't like. He plays blue-green decks and is mad that a group hug deck turns everybody into blue-green decks.
Yes.
Blue-green's
Derek
a privilege.
says, I want to be the only one drawing 4 cards a turn, and then gets mad at everyone else do it. I mean, I certainly see your point that the game does get a little more hectic. It gets a little more chaotic. And I think in our group, that is a lot less effective because we all have a relationship background with each other. Like, no amount of me trying to buy Derek's goodwill in one game of Commander is going to stop Derek from taking me out of the game.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I know
because we've got
deck.
10 years worth of relationship, worth of games where I countered his Soul Ring. So
that's right.
I mean, no amount of me saying, hey, Derek, you can draw 2 extra cards this turn is going to stop him from saying Italia is coming straight at you.
Yeah. You know what? I changed my mind. Yeah, it's, Randy, his biggest thing is that he hates that I win or I've got to maneuver him into some kind of, I want to manipulate him into a decision that he didn't want to do in the beforehand. So he wants to attack me, and no amount of bargaining or giving cards or saving lives is going to change that.
Yeah. And that's one of the most important things. If you're going to play group hug, you really have to be savvy. You have to kind of play the board a little bit. And I think ultimately most of us are
people more often.
You know that you have to know the people, but not have such a background that you can't change the game by knowing the people. And I think that's where we are here, where we have such a history, but also we see through if someone's playing, let's say, a Kinrith deck, and I put a counter on your creature unsolicited, hey, just for you, no problem. You're gonna be like, not gonna be like, thank you. I'm gonna attack your opponent. You're gonna be like, you're up to something. I better attack you before
I'm gonna swing it directly at you.
Directly at you, because I think you're about to do something with that counter.
Yeah.
And so smart players in general, when they see a known group hub commander and you start doling out resources, they know, and they have a potential to turn on you quickly, I think. And I think in our meta, we have, we don't necessarily play CEDH or 4s, but I think within whatever constraints we're playing in, we tend to max out the potential of our decks. And it's not always built towards winning. Sometimes it's a theme, or sometimes it's it's whatever, it's a budget deck or whatever. But I think we build tight decks. And in doing that, I think a group hug, like if I see someone with a group hug deck, I don't let them get to the end game, because I know that their end game it's gonna be impossible for me to beat them, no matter what I'm playing. Yeah, it's gonna be big. It might be a combo. Like, they're building up resources just like everyone else, except they came specifically to use those resources, and I didn't. Half the cards I'm drawing are draw cards that I don't want to use anymore because I'm gonna deck myself, or ramp cards that I don't want to use anymore. Whereas they're using their ramp, and then all the other cards they're drawing are part of their game plan. And if they're manipulating all the other people, now I realize I've got 2 opponents coming at me and no one's going after the group hug player. It just, and I think all of us feel the same way. We're all like, he's got 10 lands and 8 cards in hand, and
10 lands, 8 cards in hand, still at 40 life.
Yeah.
We definitely start getting suspicious and
it's
trying
like
to knock
Smash
them
Brothers,
off the hill.
Where you find out someone's still got 3 stocks. It's like, get his ass.
Exactly. So here are just some reminders for new players. Is like, this does require some good social instincts, and maybe this is a way to practice those social instincts.
That's true.
This can certainly be a way if you are in the position where you're going to a shop and playing with randoms. Like, I know that that's not our experience, but man, this past week's news from the Warfront about pub stomping and playing with strangers is a very common experience in Magic the Gathering.
Mm-hmm.
So playing group hug might be a good way to see, how can I play Magic when I'm starting at social 0? Like, when I'm starting at social neutral, how can I get people to make deals with me? Or what gift does someone want in exchange for a turn to not attack me?
Right.
Like, how do people value different game resources versus game actions? Like, things like that. I think this can be a pretty good way to practice that. In my Fibblethip deck, I feel like I'm always drawing Gate to the Ether, because the idea behind that deck is to stack the top of my deck.
Yeah.
And so I put Gate to the Ether in there so that I can slap out big threats after I've rearranged the top. And the past couple times I've played with strangers and Gate to the Ether comes out, no one cares that I gave them that gift for free.
That's right.
No one cares that I gave them a card for free. They're all like, sweet, thanks for this Eldrazi. I'm going to attack you directly with it.
Right.
And the only thing I have is Fibblethip on the board. So it's a weird way to play, and you need to think about ways to shift attention away from yourself, ways to stay in the background, and include in your deck concrete ways to protect yourself, because the Group Hug deck needs to survive until the end.
Mm-hmm.
Until the end game, the late game. I'm not just saying you need to survive until you win. That's kind of duh. But
Right.
like,
Obviously.
you need to make sure that you can last until you have 8, 9, or 10 mana.
Yeah.
And you've dug 40 cards into your deck.
Right. And so you've probably picked up by now that the whole point of a group hug deck is to build up resources. So what are we doing with those resources? What are the in games of a group hug strategy?
Here are some of the ones that I've seen, and I'll talk about some of my favorites, and then I'll let you guys talk about some of your favorites. Some of my favorite endings for a group hug deck are Insurrection, Theft, or Gain Control effects. So the card Insurrection says untap all creatures and gain control of them until end of turn. They gain haste until end of turn. It costs 8 to cast, but you've been building up your land resources, and your opponents have been playing their biggest threats the entire game. So now I can play Insurrection, gain control of all of them, and win the game in that way.
Yeah.
So Insurrection is kind of like the poster card for this effect, but there are other cards that just say gain control of a card. Or
yeah, I like Reigns of Power. It's a blue
Yeah.
card.
Yes.
Where you take one opponent's whole board, or whole board of creatures.
Mm-hmm. For the turn?
I think for the turn, I don't remember if you give another player's or if you give yours.
I think it's trading. Reigns of Power, untap all creatures you control.
Yeah, it's trading.
And all creatures target opponent controls, trade them. Yeah.
So if you've got a weak board, take the strongest person's board, either hit them with hit your creatures, or use it to knock out another player.
Exactly. Yeah, this is really good. So that's what I like to do, is saying, hey, you've all got really great creatures. How about I use them to win the game?
Yeah.
I also feel like this is usually mana advantage. A gain control effect usually costs around 3. These like theft for the turn effects usually cost around 3 mana. So if somebody else spent 6 mana to get a really big, powerful beast onto the board, I can spend 3 to steal it for the turn. That's mana advantage. That feels good.
Yeah. And even the permanent gain control ones are 4 and 5. So yeah. And the copy effects are usually cheaper. They're 3 and 4.
Yep. Clones.
Yep.
Clones kind of go in this category too, saying, Derek's going to spend 7 on a really big creature, and I'm going to spend 4 to clone it so that I get it also. Yeah. Benjamin, you do one.
One of the most common ones I've seen is Pillow Fort. So you give everyone everything, but you're playing propaganda and sphere of safety, so that when they're sitting there, or Goad fits in this category too, right? Basically, they have to choose, are they going to spend mana to attack you, or are they going to keep their resources available so they can attack your opponents? And you kind of get them to beat up on each other with all the resources you've given them, and kind of sit back and
Exactly, yeah.
Dance, my puppets, yes.
The closest group hug deck I have is my Aragorn King of Gondor, the Jeskai Aragorn, which cares about Monarch. It's not really a group hug, but it's very much like a Pillow Fort deck where shields up, and it's just about rerouting. It's like the Aikido.
Yeah, the turn redirect
just kind of
enemy.
reroute people, and I feel like that's a popular way that group hug will, like, hey, how about you use like Portal Mage, and how about you attack them instead? Or something like that.
Some other big finishers for group hugs are things like token armies. I mean, green and white are excellent group hug colors, and these are also great token colors. So use all the lands and the cards you've been drawing to make a huge army. An army that's great on defense and great on attacking, and just do a straight combat finish. And then combos. If you're going to survive until the late game, survive until you can get some type of game-winning combo or mill.
Yeah, mill's
And
really
whenever
common.
we talk about the group hug decks we currently have, mine is a mill deck. I want to make no one win
Right.
by
Mill's
just making everyone draw their entire decks, making
Yeah.
their decks disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's I think that's the most common, that and pillow fort, but I think mill is one of the most common ways I've seen group hug work, and it's basically the only way to make group hug work in 1v1 is the idea that we're both going to draw fast through our decks, and I'm drawing cards that protect me from dying while you're drawing your deck, and then maybe last minute I'm gonna discard an Eldrazi and you're gonna mill out. So yeah,
And
that's
that does bring us to one final way is, and viewer, you kind of get to choose whatever game-winning spell you want. If you've got 10 mana, you can choose whatever way you want to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
If it's Expropriate or Eldrazi Titans, or even the really cool cards that just say you win the game, like Felidar Sovereign or whatever else. Pick your poison and win the game however you want if you've got all the mana in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So Eldrazi Titans, Avacyn Angel of Hope, just choose a bomb and win with it.
So if we're getting it into the more granular strategy, Eldrazi Titans are a good way to both, mill, making sure that you still have cards in your deck while everybody else is getting down, and you can just cast them for the finish, right? Because so I could see an Eldrazi group hug deck, Kineos and
Tiro
of Meletis. Yeah, those I could see that with an Eldrazi.
Yeah. So those are some overviews of what group hug is out to do. Give everybody resources, but then take the most advantage of the resources you gained in order to win, and protect yourself until you get there. Let's talk about some of the pros, some things that are, I think, really cool about group hug. And the first is, again, I guess this is personal because Derek's kind of in a separate camp here, but I think group hug is tons of fun to play with. I love either being the group hugger or having a group hug deck in the pod, because it turns every deck on. It just lubricates the gears of every deck. So everyone is smoothing out their draws. Everyone is hitting their land or a bonus land per turn. It's a cool way to get to the mid game where everybody's playing cool spells faster. It's a ton of fun because I get to skip the first 4 turns of Rampant Growth, Arcane Signet, Explosive Vegetation. Like, I kind of just get to skip those.
Right.
Because the group hug player is doing it for everyone. And then you see if a deck can't get off the ground while a group hug deck is there, then that's a bad deck.
Yeah.
Like, maybe test out your own deck and see if it works, because if it doesn't, something's wrong. Like your strategy's off or whatever. But I think group hug decks are a ton of fun because you get to see the strategy that everyone was going into the game aiming to do. All the decks get to fire off. That's my opinion. I like to see that.
Yeah,
Even if somebody beats me with it.
To piggyback off what you're saying, if someone wanted to, not necessarily run tutors, but they wanted to see certain cards, or they wanted to find their little combos or whatever, you're drawing so many cards and getting so much mana that you're much more likely to see those little pet cards or whatever have you in that deck than you would in a normal deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. The other biggest strength I think in a group hug deck is that if you are socially, politically savvy and you play your cards right, you can avoid being the target for a while. Because even if you are building up a big resource advantage, a lot of people are sitting there going, I can't kill him because I really need that card draw. I really need the Rites of Flourishing to stay in play. I don't want to destroy all the enchantments and I don't want to attack him because I'll lose access to cards. I'll lose that mana flare that's doubling my mana. I'll lose I can't lose him. And sometimes the one player who's like, I've got my advantage. I've got 7 cards in hand and 10 mana. I don't need him anymore. The other players, no, get down, Mr. President.
Get down. See, and I love being Mr. President in that scenario. To have other people jump to protect me, nothing feels better.
Yeah, that's fair.
Nothing feels better. Well, I was going to say, in our opinion, the pros kind of end there. Like, because even though this isn't 1v1, the idea of giving your opponents willingly card advantage and mana advantage, it goes against everything that helps a person win games.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know everything about my opponent's deck, but who knows what they can do with 8 to 10 mana?
Yeah.
It can still be really scary. So, listeners, those are the pros we came up with, and we have quite a list of cons, a list of potential dangers that you need to consider if you want to win with a group hug deck.
Yeah. And the first one is just everything you've been saying. Everyone else's deck is going to be going off.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I feel like, first of all, this is part of the pros, right? Which is it's fun and everybody gets to do their thing. People have a great time. In our pod, people enjoy losing or they don't mind losing if their deck did its thing because they still got to express themselves. It's not as fun as winning, but it's still, you don't feel like you wasted your time and man, why did I come to the LGS? I could have been sleeping.
I know.
But if you are the group hug player, you have to come prepared for other people to do their thing. It's like the exact opposite of stacks. Stacks, you're like, I know, they're not getting to do anything. They're not getting, this is great. I have free reign on this table. No, you are letting people's decks go off. And if you want to win, it's a challenge. You got to prepare for that. And you never know, like you said, if someone else is going to be able to use their resources
To
be
higher
able-
effect.
to better effect. You don't know if they're playing an Eldrazi and you just helped them cast Emrakul.
Yeah.
Okay, well what are you gonna do about that? It can't be countered. What are you gonna do? They're taking control of your turn? Oh no. Right?
Yeah.
Or they play their Ulamog with the cast trigger and it doesn't matter if you came prepared.
Yep. Derek, hit us with some more cons and weaknesses. Why do you think these
Boy,
decks,
I'm
what do
about
you
to
think
just
is
go
wrong
on-
with playing group hug?
I'm gonna go on a tirade.
Do it, man.
So we talked about several ways to implement your group hug, combos, mill, pillow fort, etc. Newsflash: you could do all that stuff without adding in the group hug parts. You've made those decks worse by letting your opponents, get there. Like,
Derek, that's awesome.
if you want to play a
It makes
combo
perfect
deck,
sense. You're
yeah,
right.
you need to be drawing spending your mana on your own cards and getting more of them instead of giving to your opponents and having them. You're just increasing your chances of losing by doing that.
Wow, that makes perfect sense. End of the episode. Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
if you want to do tokens, if you want to do combos, mill, insurrection, just do those and don't do a group.
Yeah, like if the reason to play group hug is that you want to make more politics, which I think is fine. Like politics is a big part of Commander, and I think it's fun to lean into it occasionally. But I also don't feel like normal group hug decks have like a natural win con. The idea is that you want to use your opponents as your tools to knock each other out. And then when it's down to you and the last player, I feel like the group hug player loses all the time because they don't have a deck that can go toe to toe with someone who's playing Eldrazi Titans. They've got 10 mana for their I win spells, and if you're not getting yours fast enough, you just don't have the gas to do it.
Yeah, a group hug deck really needs to kill the table all at once.
Yeah,
Because when you come down to 1v1, all the reasons why group hug doesn't exist in 1v1 suddenly come into play.
Yep.
yeah. So because of that, or because they can't really win a 1v1 towards the end. I mean, they could, but I feel like they're more likely not to. It usually comes down to one player's been knocked out, and it's the group hug player and two other players, and the group hug player has a chance to decide, I want this person to win, I want that person to win. And it's a kingmaker situation, and sometimes it can lead to some feel bads, like, oh, why did you choose Randy over Travis, or why are you not picking me? Like,
Derek, why did you choose Randy over me in our game of Lorcana?
I'm trying to ingratiate myself to Randy
so that you can take advantage of him in the next game. No, I think you're totally right. That this style of deck often puts itself in the Kingmaker position. We have an older episode about Kingmaking.
Yeah.
That's primarily audio, but it's still a great conversation that we had. And you're right. Some players just hate this dynamic of saying, why did you pick that person over me? What was the reason?
Right.
Yeah,
and I think that
whatever
kind
it
of
is.
plays into another big weakness for group hug decks. Okay, in a normal game of Commander where you have 4 players, if one person's playing a 4 and everybody else is playing a 2, you can kind of mitigate that by the 2s teaming up on the 4, right? And saying we're going to counter that person's Soul Ring, and we're going to blow up their commander and kind of keep them down so that the 2s all have time to come up, right? It's your normal archenemy dynamic that's very, very common in multiplayer games like this.
And fun.
Yeah, it can be fun to be the archenemy. It can be fun to take them down. But when somebody is playing group hug, the natural differences in power level between the decks are amplified because the more powerful decks are going to be seeing better cards and be able to use their mana more efficiently, and their deck's already set up to do that, and you're giving them more, whereas a 2 may not be set up to use their mana efficiently, and they're drawing lower level cards, right? And so this is going to multiply into maybe you don't have a choice on your Kingmaker. You're just the best deck's going to win, because instead of using the politics like a group hug commander is designed to do, you've basically just given it to the best list at the table. You've taken politics out of it, which is what normally keeps the best list from always winning.
Yeah. I think those are all really great points. There is a very clear risk of playing group hug because it goes against everything you've ever learned about competitive games, about how to win. You know, your card advantage, your mana advantage, bye-bye, is gone. We're always preaching in every other archetype so far. You know, Reanimator wins through mana advantage. Spellslinger wins through card advantage. And with this, you're just saying, I hope I can figure it out at the end. I hope I can do it better. But when everybody has all the cards and all the mana they could ever need, there's just no way to predict who's going to be the winner there.
Yeah. So all that to say, group hug can be a ton of fun. It's not the most competitive strategy, but some people are not playing to win. And if that's you, we've got strategies for you, right?
Yes.
And strategies for trying to increase your win percentages, right? Because you can win with group hug. I've seen it. There are some very powerful group hug decks out there. It's a strategy that can work. It's just your percentages are off for all the reasons we just said, right? You're not looking at S tier or A tier group hug decks. But even in competitive metas, C tier lists can be what's needed at the time, right? It has its place in certain groups and against certain decks, and you can spike a pod or a tournament with a list. So we're going to show you how to do that.
Yeah, we've got a couple tips, some strategy tips for group hug about how to increase your chances of winning despite all the issues that come along with it. This is what I think is the biggest point, is whatever resource you are giving the table, you want to make sure that your deck is built to get the most benefit from it. You want your deck to capitalize the most on whatever benefit is being passed out. So if you're passing out cards, your deck should have like bonus effects that say when you draw a card, blank, extra value. You know, you want extra stuff. Make sure that the resource, whatever resource you're giving, increases your chances to win the most. The example I came up with is Kineos and Tiro, who's going to come up quite a few times because
it's Exhibit A of group hug.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is, you know, kind of how Muldrotha was Exhibit A graveyard.
Right.
This is Exhibit A group hug. At the beginning of your end step, you draw a card, and then each player may put a land card from his or her hand onto the battlefield. Each opponent who doesn't, draw a card. So the easy way to grok this is you get to do both. You get to draw a card and play a land. Your opponents have to choose one or the other. Okay, so if you get an extra land drop every turn, and you give your opponents the option of card or land, well, then maybe you should build your deck as landfall. Get added bonus from playing your lands. Get increased value from those extra land drops every turn. And I know that that's kind of just basic level 1 understanding, but that's really what you need to do, is whatever resource you're giving out, you want to make the most use out of it. If you're giving everyone cards, then make sure that you have something like Smothering Tithe so that you're getting bonus treasures from it, or Consecrated Sphinx so that you're getting double the cards.
Mm-hmm.
Look for cards in Scryfall that say when your opponent draws a card, and then look for what effects you can get to capitalize off of that. I think that's your best way of trying to get the most bang for your buck of whatever resource you're handing out to the table.
Yeah, there's tons of cards out there where you get a benefit when opponents have more cards in hand, right? Mm-hmm. A simple example of this, Sword, what's the red and white one? It's the one that almost, War and Peace. Sword of War and Peace. Almost never gets played. You can't guarantee cards in your hand. You can't guarantee cards in your opponent's hand. But hey, if you're both stocked with cards, and you know that because you're building your deck to draw and let them draw, hey, Sword of War and Peace is going to gain you a ton of life and deal a lot of damage.
Yeah, gain you 7 life and deal them 7 damage. Very nice.
Yeah. So, and go in any color group hug deck. So stick it in there.
Yeah. All right. Derek, give us another one.
Yeah, expect to be targeted. I think as a Geshath player, I am looking to hit someone with their shields down. I'm looking for the weakest person to get the fattest trigger.
Yeah.
So politicking and dealing will only deal you or get you so far. People are going to see you as a weak board presence and they're going to go for you. So you need to try to ingratiate and do what you have to do to get the allegiance of someone else. Maybe if I'm Geshath attacking Travis as the group hug, Travis needs to look to Benjamin or Randy like, hey guys, I'll do anything, please. You gotta save me, you gotta help out. Instead of turning it into a 1v3, kind of turn it into a 2v2. Don't skimp on your own board presence. I think. Because
I think that's great advice.
don't let other people see the blood in the water.
Yeah. I think
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, and I think along those lines, and expect to be targeted, even though you're helping your opponents build up their boards and stuff, run a lot of interaction and protection. You should be board wipes. I probably want a couple. I probably want one or two extra.
Absolutely.
Make sure you're running your Teferi's protection. Make sure you're running your Pillow Fort. Right. The reason Pillow Fort is so common is because group hug players should expect to be targeted, like you were talking about.
Yeah. And run a few counterspells.
Always.
If somebody plays something that is unacceptable at your table, somebody taps out for an X spell after all the land you've given them. No. That's not how we play here. Counterspell. I think, and this comes from my experience, I really love group slug, which I think that's an archetype that we will get to eventually. But it's all about whatever game action somebody else does, make them pay for it. Make them pay life for it. And I kind of took that idea to create this strategy tip is you should build your deck with some caveat or price that your opponents need to pay in order to use the gift you gave them. So, I know that Kinios and Tiro, he does provide extra lands. Well, if you're providing extra land drops, maybe throw in a card like Zozu the Punisher. Zozu the Punisher says whenever a land enters the battlefield, Zozu the Punisher deals 2 damage to that land's controller. That bonus gift you're giving them does not have to be for free. You can make them pay the price for what they're doing. I mentioned Smothering Tithe earlier. That's a price they have to pay for all the cards they're drawing, is you're getting a ton of treasures for it. And there are a couple cards that do this. Zozu the Punisher is in red. Polluted Bonds is in black.
Yeah, Ankh of Mishra is colorless.
Ankh of Mishra is a colorless artifact. I think there's like Shattered Angel that gains you life when an opponent plays a land. In white. I think these are cool effects. There's also some card draw cards like Fevered Visions and Ebony Alnetske that can deal which we looked at earlier, that can deal damage to people based on the number of cards in hand. So you can continue progressing the game. You can deal a little bit of damage, or you can, whatever.
Yeah.
Through the gifts that you're giving your opponents.
I think
you can still progress the game.
I think group hug and group slug are often talked about differently, but they're really synergistic.
Yeah.
As long as you're not, with one exception, which is if you're playing something like Mogus, don't be giving them tokens.
Yeah.
Be smart.
Right.
Be smart. Like, this is a great example. All of these things you're talking about with like Zozu plus K and T, right? Like, yeah, I like the Shattered Angel example because that one's less likely to draw attention, because obviously if you're putting some group slug into your deck, it starts to get people's attention and you're more likely to be targeted. Because I always go after the group slug player. I usually wait a little bit to go after the group hug player until I've got some resources out of them. So, when you play Zozu, you're going to get targeted. If you play something like Shattered Angel, you're just getting a little more life than your opponent.
What? It's just 3 life.
It's just 3 life. When you play your 2 lands and you play your 2 lands and you play your 2 lands and I play my 2 lands, well, mine don't count, but that's 2, 4, 6. That was 18 life I gained this round.
Yeah. And then exactly like Derek said, he's got 3 stock. Randy's got 74 life.
Right?
Or whatever. What?
So,
when did that happen?
As we were thinking of this episode and Travis had written this point on our outline, I just thought that, group hug doesn't have to mean group free ride. You can make them pay a little bit for the gift.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want that extra land, you can give me 3 life for it, or you can pay 2 life for it, or if you want that extra card, you can give me a treasure for it.
Yeah.
Like, just look through And, I keep Scryfall up on all these episodes because that advanced search is so great for finding a bunch of cards that you never thought existed. This is a 30-year-old game, and they've got effects that say when your opponent draws a card, or when your opponent, when
Cast
a
their second
creature
spell.
enters the battlefield under your opponent's control. Like, you can get bonuses from those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so make them pay.
You can also do this with politicking. If you've got a card like Kinrith that says target player gains 5 life, put a target player draws a card.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you seem to be light on lands. You want a card? You want a card?
Exactly.
Attack them. I'll give you a card.
There is a line of cards called Offerings, Benevolent Offering. Anyway, they'll all say choose an opponent.
Yeah.
Infernal Offering, Intellectual Offering. They'll all say choose an opponent. And these are great group hug cards because you get to pick one player in particular, or two. You get to choose 2 players and then share benefits with those.
Yeah. But you get all of them. I also really like the ones that are like choose friend or foe. For each player, choose friend or foe.
Yes, choose friend or foe. Here's Wim says, choose for each player, choose friend or foe. Each friend searches their library for a land, puts it on the battlefield. Each foe sacrifices an artifact. So you look around and say, who wants to be my friend? What can you offer me?
Right.
Can you offer me a turn where you don't attack? Or can you offer me, whatever?
Because otherwise you're losing your soul ring.
Yeah, and these came out during Battle Bond. Y'all, same way for Spellslinger, you should take a look at Strixhaven. If you're running Group Hug, you should take a look at Battle Bond.
Yeah.
A great set because that's all about alliances between players.
Mm-hmm.
They also had, I don't remember exactly what the ability was, but it was like Join Forces or something.
Join Forces, yeah.
Yeah, like they pay part of your mana.
That wasn't in Battle. I think Battle Bond had Assist. I think is what you're
that's
thinking
what it
of.
was. Assist. Yeah.
Now, Join Forces, you need to tell people that you're playing Join Forces. That you say, hey, look, like I have a Join Forces card. Don't tap out this turn, and we can make this board huge.
Yeah.
Right? But you got to tell them because otherwise
we can skip turns 3 through 7.
Yeah. Because otherwise,
and really make it happen.
You're holding Collective Voyage, and on turn 2, you put 1 mana in it, and no one else puts any mana in it because they all tapped out. Now you're all getting to search for a land when you're the only one who paid any mana. That's just a really bad rampant growth.
Yeah.
This is a really bad rampant growth.
Tell people when I have joined forces, because look, Alliance of Arms 1, Collective Voyage 1, Minds Aglow 1. I tell people ahead of time, listen, all I'm paying is the 1. All I'm paying is the blue in Minds Aglow. Okay. If anybody else wants to pay mana and draw some cards, you can pay into it.
Right. That's probably how you have to play it, because otherwise people are freeloaders.
Although I have been burned by saying that because it says starting with you, each player pays.
Yeah.
So I just say, okay, I'm playing the blue, and then I'll pay nothing into X, and everybody else goes pass. So maybe put in 1.
I mean, I'm happy to sit. If you're going to pay 2 for a Minds Aglow to let me draw a card, I'm fine with that.
Benjamin's over here. Vaya con Dios, brother. Anyway, those are definitely some cards to think about. Remember, this can be a great fun to see all of the decks going off, see what everybody brought to the table, kind of turn every deck into a Simic Spellslinger deck.
Yeah.
It is a lot of fun to see what everybody came to the table with. But if you are a highly competitive player who gets your fun from winning, there's a lot of things you need to consider before playing Group Hug. Next week, when we return, part 2 of this Essential Concepts episode will be some beginner commanders for building Group Hug. We've already hinted at Kineos and Tiro of Miletus, but we've got a few others that provide some different avenues on how to play. I do have kind of the closest thing our meta has to Group Hug right now, so I'll talk just a little bit about that deck, and then we're going to go through some quintessential Group Hug cards. Things like the Join Forces cycle that we just talked about. Cards that you should look at if you are aiming to build this kind of deck and give your opponents lots of resources. Do y'all have any last words?
Well, listeners, we want to hear your stories too. You've heard about our experiences with Group Hug, and you've heard about why we tend to stay away from it. But have you ever built a Group Hug deck? Did it crash the game like we were talking about?
What's the win rate for your Group Hug deck?
Right? Did you actually make friends, or did you just make a bunch of enemies? So drop a comment and tell us about your Group hug memories.
Absolutely. Don't forget that you can, of course, reach us through email, mymythicalmeta@gmail.com. And please, we are on the road to 1K. We are at 500. So help us hit 1K. Man, I just want to say thank you so much. In the last month, we've gained over 150 subscribers. So
Y'all are
K is not as far off into the horizon as I think I thought it was. I think we're really growing fast, and it's so exciting. So thank you guys for sharing if you like our content. And there's 90% of you who are watching who haven't subscribed. So if you are going to come back, if we've eked our way into your algorithm, just click subscribe for us anyway. All right. Thank you very much for listening, for watching, for sharing. Benjamin, Derek, thank you guys for being my great friends. Adios.
There, guys.
This episode was sponsored by Eldorado Gaming. Use the promo code META for 10% off your order. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. This episode was edited by me, Travis Konishek, and our intro and outro music is by Tyler Heath of the Oh Hellos.